We're back for another tutorial for Unreal Engine, opening up the project file we have been working on. And this week, or this day, I guess I've had a few tutorials each week, I guess. I have an idea where I would like to put a platform in our layout here. Remember last time we made this cube, Mystic Cube, and over here we have this platform. I thought, what if I made a platform to set Mystic Cube on that could trigger a game over screen that we could play around with. I thought that would be kind of cool. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Still here in the content browser here up at the top level of it, at the highest content level. If we right click here and we're looking for widget blueprint. We haven't done one of these before. And it gives us this little symbol down here. And I'm going to call this thing, I'm just going to call it End Game Widget. That should work nicely right there. If I open this up, a widget is basically something that we can use on our screen. And the editor looks a little bit different than other things we've been working on with this. I got this idea as I've been just kind of going down the Unreal Engine rabbit hole online and found some stuff by Matt Asplund, his YouTube page, and thought this would be a cool one that we would be able to incorporate easily into our into our game or our escape room that we're doing here. So this is kind of the window that would pop up in front of the screen, and we have a palette of all sorts of things that we can use over here. And I like the background blur, and so I'm just searching for it, and it's under special effects, as you can see here. If I click and drag background blur here, and for the position for these, I'm just gonna, on the right hand side for the details, 0 for the X, 0 for the Y. And for the size of this object, I'm gonna use 1920 wide by 1080 tall. And if for some reason on yours you decided to make your screen bigger than that, if your resolution for your game is bigger than that, it's okay, because this is only going to blur the middle part anyway, where we want to be able to see our text and everything. So it doesn't cover the entire screen. It's not that big of a deal. When I click on that, there are some other things you'll kind of notice on the side, one of them being anchors. So as I have that selected, I'm going to choose this middle anchor with that selected. That's going to keep it in the middle for us on our screen. So that's the background blur. We added it on there. We clicked and dragged it into there. And actually also blur strength would probably be a nice thing to add for this either. You go 20, 30, 40, whatever, however much blur you want to be behind it. And you can see it kind of blurs that grid behind this, just to kind of give you an idea, but the game screen would blur behind that. So pretty cool. Compile and save often, as I like to try to practice. So we got that there. There is one other thing too. I did just think of that. The Z order. Think of it like anytime you're using something like, I don't know, like PowerPoint or anything like that, you have your Z order. And if we select -1 for the Z order, you know, that's going to make sure it's behind everything else we put on here, so it doesn't accidentally get shifted in front of our other stuff. Okay. Now for reals, I think we're done with the blur strength and with the Gaussian blur background there. Okay. Next thing I want to add on here is buttons. So I'm going to search on here for button. Here's a button. And to add a button, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to click and drag it from common. I'm going to go down here to hierarchy, and you can kind of see where these lines show up where I click and drag it. I don't want to drag it on the background blur, but if I bring it down a little bit further, that orange line goes right underneath it. So I'm going to select right there, and we have a button. And actually, I'm just going to bring two buttons. So I'm going to bring the second button underneath that. With the first button selected, I can click and drag it over here, and we can resize these also. So what if we go like for, let's see what, I don't know, 300 wide looks like and 100 tall. That is not half bad. Not half bad at all. So there's one there. That's the second one, so I'm actually going to bring that down just a little bit for us. And then the other one, the upper button here, I'm going to do the same sizes for it, obviously. So 300 wide by 100 tall. All right, and kind of stack these above each other. That looks pretty good. With the top button selected, this one here, I'm gonna select. Maybe I'll even move both of these with the shift select. Move them both down just a little bit further. There we go. Okay, so the top one selected. We can rename them up here, like where it says button. Mine says button 1268. I'm gonna click on that, and I'm gonna call this retry button. And I want to make sure that with that one named, I can select my anchors and go with the middle for that. And then underneath that one, I will call this one quit button. There we go. And the anchor for that one, I'll do the same thing. Put that one center. All right. So those two are selected for that. That looks good. And then also, compile and save real quick. I'm going to add some text to this on here. And with the text, not rich text block, I want just the regular text. When I click and drag this above a button, so I'm going to start above the retry button, okay? And this time I do want to drop it directly on the retry button. So you can see when I drag it down, it puts the orange rectangle around it. I'm going to select there. And I can rename that over here too. So I'll call this retry. No, I don't want to do that. Sorry. I was renaming my background blur. I don't want to do that. Had the wrong thing selected. I apologize. So if I select the text block, here we go. Now I can call this retry text. And I'm going to keep it centered on there. And for the text block where it says text here, I'm going to select this. And I'm going to type in retry. Okay, and then down here you can select the color of this also. So, you know, depending on what you want to use. Since my buttons are lighter colored, I'm going to use a contrasting darker color for the text on that. Then I can bring text box down to, or nope, not text box. What are you doing? Text. I can drag text down to the quit button. Make sure the orange rectangle is going around the quit button, and select it. And we can call this one quit text. And with that, I can go to the text section here and choose quit. And for the color, I'll do the same thing and click OK. So those look pretty good. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this text one more time, and I'm just going to bring this one up here. And this one, I'm just going to call for the text block for this one. Should name it game over text. And in the text here, I'm going to put in game over. I could say like you have escaped or something like that. This will be fun. Alright, game over. And if I select game over on here, my game over text, let me try here. Let's see. Oh, I clicked it on the background blur. That's my problem. So if I drag that down, I wasn't really paying attention. I dragged it directly on the game over. I want to have it be its own level here and not nested underneath it. Okay, there we go. Now we're in good shape. So this one I can anchor, or let me move it here into the middle and do this. And we can also even find the font here, and we can adjust all of this stuff. I'll leave it as white. I think that's probably fine. And position, anchors, we can leave that there. Okay. There we go. Now it's centered. And this font, there it is. If you expand that font, we can change the size here. So what does 72 look like for us? Looks better. And move that up a little bit. And we have this. So this isn't real like exact or anything. I could spend more time with it, but for right now I think this is fine. And compile and save, and let's select that anchor in case I haven't already. Okay, cool, we're good with that. Going back to these buttons here, so this retry button, I'm going to select that, and if I scroll down I have these events. If I select on clicked and click on that, it's going to take me to the event graph for that widget. So I'll click compile and save. Then I'm going to go back to the designer up here, and I'm going to do the exact same with the quit button. Have quit button selected and on clicked, and it puts that one right there. Okay, then compile and save. So far we're doing pretty good with that. If I'm going to take a look at something right here real fast. I can actually just close out of this window, and I want to make sure. So this is first person example map. I want to see what the name of this level is and pay attention to the cases, you know. So first person example map, if I go back into in-game widget and I go to the event graph and I find my retry button here, I drag this white arrow and goodness sakes, I already forgot what it was called. Here, I'll just minimize this so I have it here so I can still see. I'm having a hard time focusing. Okay, so on retry, here we go. So I'm going to bring this over to the side and I'm going to find, this is for the retry button, open level by name. So if I select that, it brings this up, and where it says level name, then I'm going to type that in. So first person example map. All right. Then after that on there, now I can make this bigger again. We're in pretty good shape for that part. Let's see. I should also go by dragging this. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to find set show cursor, and it's not showing up at first, so I have to uncheck this actually, this context sensitive, and then it gives me the option set show mouse cursor. I'm going to click on that, and because this is on retry, I want to hide the cursor, so I'm going to leave that unchecked, and then I can drag from that where it says target and bring this down, and I want to find get player controller, and now I'm going to have to check this box, then it's going to show me get player controller. Alright, so we have this right here. Our reset button will work with that. Now the other thing I want to do for this is obviously have a quit button. This one is pretty easy. You just drag the white arrow and search for quit game, and there you have that one. Okay, so we have those two things done. We're good with that. So we've designed our widget. We can close out of this. We have it to where the buttons are programmable. Now we just need to make it so that the widget has a way to be activated. All right. So coming over here to my platform, I'm actually going to bring in I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click and add a blueprint class, and this is going to be an actor. And I will call this one, I don't know, like game over trigger. That should work. Alright, and then if I go into that, into the options, and here we are in the viewport of it, add component, and let's go ahead and bring in a cube. And we have that, and if I scale that down, wrong one, here we go. If I bring this thing down, and let's actually just go to like let me find here the Z, instead of 0.25, Let's go 0.125. That'll be good. And we should be, that looks pretty good like that. And then, will that be? You know what? I might just go 0.05. Let me try that and make it even a little bit smaller. Okay, and then for the name of that cube, you can rename it and just call it Game Over Platform. Alright, and then we're going to add another component here, and we're looking for a box collision. And just kind of like we did before, like with the door, you know, I'm going to make this be scaled a little wider, I suppose. Let me get to where I can bring that. Alright, so it's a little wider than it, just a little bit, depending on how accurate you want it to be when you place the object. And then if we make this be a little taller, depending on how high up the box is when we place it with yours, this looks pretty good like that. And for the box collision, we can even name that and call it Game Over Collision, and then compile and save. That looks pretty good just like that. So now we're just about done. We want to go down here into our events, and we are looking for on component begin overlap. We can widen this a little if we needed. On component begin overlap, and it takes us into our event graph for this trigger. And I'll zoom in here, and if I'm going to minimize this just a little bit because I want to remember what the name of all these things are that we made reference to last tutorial. So I called mine Mystic Cube. I should have been able to remember that. And if I bring the white arrow from here over and I find cast to and I'm right here, and I can search for cast to Mystic Cube, whatever you called yours, you can find it there. And we're going to bring the other actor from that over to the object for that. So that works good. We're going to bring this white arrow over to the side and search for create widget. And when we have that done, grab the right thing here. There's a class here. We can click on that drop down menu and we should be able to find the widget that we created. In this case, mine was called endgame widget. Click on that, and from the white arrow here, I want to bring this over and find add to viewport and bring the return value over to target. And from over here, from add to viewport, we'll bring this over to the side, and we are going to find set mouse, and I'll need to uncheck this again, set show mouse cursor. Alright, here we go. And on this one, we want to check mark this, because when the game screen comes up, we want to be able to see the cursor there, so that's why we need to do that. Yeah, so then we can find down here, we can either right click or we can bring it from target, I guess. And I'm going to type in get player controller and recheck this context sensitive up here. Get player controller. And then we can bring over from set or from set, and then we want to search for set game paused, and then we will click paused right there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. If I close out of that and just one more time, I want to find the widget here and look at my event graph. I just want to make sure everything looks fine there, and I believe it does. Okay, so I'm going to save, close out of that, and then we can bring this game over trigger and put it onto the layout. Now this is all going to be kind of hard to see right now because, you know, everything's white and gray, but we're going to change that in the next tutorial, so don't worry about it right now, you know, unless you've already been playing around with that, then that's fine, but I'm not going to worry about it right at this moment. And I'm going to give this thing a try. We're going to see how it works. So I'm going to play this. So remembering how this game works, jumping up here, I know I need to press the switch by running over it to be able to unlock that door. Okay. And then I need to use F to pick up the object and go over to the door. So far so good, so far so good. Alright, and then coming up here to the platform. Alright, and then here's the platform, and then if I use C to place the object, I can now see my cursor. Alright, everything's good. And if I click retry, I'm back here at the beginning. So I'm going to do this one more time, and then I'll try the quit button. So moving up here to this, going over the switch, alright, and then if I use my F command, come back over here, go up to this one last time, and then use C to place it, and I go to quit. I'm going to get an error of a few things that I probably need to clean up. They're yellow, so it's nothing that's super crucial. It's playable, and hey, we have some kind of cool things happening with this, I think. So I tried to get through that without making it too long. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully you can find a way to incorporate that game over screen to whatever you're working on, and to just trigger it to an event that you want to end the game. You know, you could even make a pause button, right? If I wanted to, I could say, oh, I'm stuck, I'm going to push, you know, P to pause, and then I can quit, or I can restart the game if I've, you know, drastically screwed something up while playing. So ton of possibilities with it. Let me know what you think if you want in the comments, and we'll catch you, like I said before, we'll catch you on the next video when we start doing some cool textures and making the level look a little better. Appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you next time.